Okay. Hey everyone, so welcome to the next episode of Think Data with Datamin series. And this time we have Igor Chtivelband with us, who is a speaker, a renowned startup advisor, and also a data veteran, I would say. So thank you very much, Igor, for taking time and joining with us today. So probably to give a quick intro, he is a data and CRM professional with over 15 years of experience in designing, building, and maintaining data-intensive applications. So currently, he is a Salesforce staff data engineer at SumUp. So, all right. So I think it's time to get started, and hope you all enjoy this episode with us.
Hi, Shruti. Hi, Artyom. Thank you for inviting me.
I would like to share one fun fact about Igor. So as you know, we worked together at Funding Circle before, and then we together co-founded Billy as a part of the co-foundation team of Billy. And the interesting thing is that, as Igor said, he has like 15 years of career, but only 4 companies. And these companies, if you open his LinkedIn, you will see that these companies are either already successful enterprises like Intel, or companies who already went on IPO, or companies who already close to it. So basically, when Igor touches something, then the company goes like this, like a rocket. How do you do this, Igor?
I have a Midas touch. Like whatever I touches, this company becomes very simple. That's why I was more or less. I mean, again, in some.
Actually, Igor touched Datamin a little bit, so we can be sure that we are on a nice path.
Yes, yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah, and then a couple of other startups from Berlin where I advised, and all of them are doing pretty well, I would say.
I think after this interview, you're going to be on demand.
Who knows? Maybe.
So I think to start with, you've had 15 years of experience in designing, building, and maintaining data-intensive applications, and you're also an early adopter of technologies like Snowflake, Immuta, and HighTouch. So I think it would be really, really great for anyone who sees the interview or to even read it. They would love to know your career journey and also the primary responsibilities that you carry out right now.
Sure. So let's start with career journey. I studied a bachelor degree in information system engineering, and during my studies, I already got my first job in the industry. It was Intel Development Center, a big corporation, where we were working on the huge data set because Intel, before that they create chips from silicon, they first run simulations, and then you can imagine you have billions of results of the simulation. So that was our data set, and I was working with it. And then after 4 years in Intel, I realized that actually I would like to continue my education. So I studied a master degree in software engineering in Sweden, and then later in Germany. And after that, in the last 10 years, I was working in various fintech startups here in Berlin, climbing slowly but surely career ladder, from BI engineer to VP data in Billy. And then actually, a few months ago, I decided to jump off this career ladder and rejoined SumUp as an individual contributor. And today I work in SumUp as a staff Salesforce engineer. But as you might imagine, nowadays any tech job is very related to data. So I work daily with data warehouse. I take a look at ETL processes and some, I don't know, data visualization tools. So despite that, I not data engineer anymore. I'm still very involved in working with various data tools.
Yeah, nice. So what we wanted to discuss today is basically, as Igor told us before, he has a very unusual, let's say, skill or experience. He was an early adopter of many data software, or in general software as a service products, who are currently known as market leads like HighTouch, Immuta, Fivetran, Snowflake, and so on. And he was the one who actually worked with many of these ones on a very early stage. So if you look at Immuta, for example, they have their customers, primarily customers list on the website, and there we see Atlassian, Sony, and so on. And we see Bill is there as one of the, if not the first one, European customer, where Igor was actually leading this integration. So what we wanted to discuss today is actually how is it to be an early adopter, what are the pros, cons, and basically to get your, Igor, your recommendations for companies who are looking for adopting any data products and adding it into their data stack, if they should look at this direction, or they should mostly focus on already existing and already trusted products.
So I do not recall any situation when I was sitting and I was bored and said, okay, let's try to experiment, let's try to adopt some tool. So usually the way it works is there is a real pain point, there is a real issue, there is a problem, and then I ask myself, okay, what can we do about this problem, right? And then there are the reasonable alternatives are build or buy, and of course I cannot build a new relational database management system. I mean, I can try, but I will fail. So then it's probably buy, right? And you mentioned Snowflake, for example, right? I remember that back then our data warehouse was powered by Postgres, very, let's say, decent technology, but still we had some issues, and I wanted to find something better, right? The same, for example, applies to Fivetran, that we had in-house built data pipelines, but they were not very stable, and I wanted to change situation, and I was looking for a game changer. So my first recommendation is that, let's say, if you are unhappy with the way that something is implemented in your company, you should challenge the status quo. You should do something about it. You should not just say, okay, I will continue to suffer for the next 5 years. I don't know, waiting for Messiah, but take your destiny in your own hands and be bold. Be ready to try something new. So that's the first thing. Now another thing is that surprisingly, I see that trend that in the last 12 years, maybe 10 years, companies, even big companies, they stop to play safe. When I say play safe, I mean, like, previously you wanted to have a data warehouse, you go with a gigantic company like Oracle, right? You pay to them 50K just, like for the start of the contract, and then you trust their brand, or I don't know, Teradata, Informatica, and all like that kind of solutions, SAP. And nowadays we see that even big companies, they are ready to experiment, and they see that there are many very promising names which came to the market just a couple of years ago, or even less. I mean, who has heard about Monte Carlo, I don't know, 4 years ago? No one, right? And today it became de facto standard in the industry. Yeah, it's a paid promotion of Monte Carlo, get the kickback from them later. So to sum it up, challenge status quo. Don't be afraid even to try to adopt technology which you've never heard before, because even Snowflake at day one had their first customer, right? So maybe you're going to be the first customer of company X, which will become the industry industry standard in a couple of years. Yeah, so that's my answer for you.
That's pretty interesting. I think that does make sense. When you know what your requirements are, you should not think a lot on it, and you have to go for it. But so, what were the major pros and cons that you had to face when you took the early adoption, or how did the organization react to it? When you said that, okay, this is something that I see, which is not famous in the market, but I think it really fits our requirements. How did it turn out to be for you?
So, of course, there is always skepticism. And I would say the further from tech department you go, the more skepticism you get. So, because if you come to your compliance department and you say, okay, guys, I want to buy a new product from Oracle, no brainer. You will get the signature from compliance department or from legal or whatever. But if you come to compliance department and tell them, okay, I want to buy a new tool from a startup in Boston, and it's just 7 employees, and they're not even publicly available, it's kind of going to be proof of concept even for them, might be challenging, right? And of course, from my experience, it's significantly more complicated to get that approval in a big company. But if you work in a small startup, if you have startup of 20 employees and you want to buy a tool from startup of 7 employees, it's a match in heaven. So it's kind of win-win situation. Probably it's going to be cheap, because that kind of companies at the beginning, they do not charge too much. And it's also very highly likely that if you're a startup of 20 employees, you even don't have a compliance department. So you are not there yet.
What about the level of support? Do you see any significant difference between the support that you get from enterprise software or the support that you got from early stage data software?
Yes, absolutely. It is completely different story with startups, because I can tell you that once I talked to a very big and very successful company and asked them about some feature, and I was told that that feature will be released. It's already on the roadmap. Apparently, it will come in 3 years. On the other hand, I had some issue with a small tech startup that I was one of the very first customers of, and so there was a problem in their user interface, and I contacted them. I said, guys, I could not figure it out. How can I achieve this task using your user interface? First of all, they instructed me how to do it. So it's the problem was that I misinterpreted their user interface. So, and they told me, okay, it's not clear to me and it was not obvious to me. And told me, okay, no problem, we will change it. Next week, they released the patch and they changed the user interface just based on my feedback. So immediately I felt significant, like I felt that I'm an appreciated customer and that my voice matters. Or, for example, another company invited me to join their I think it's called advisory board. It's kind of board of customers who have impact on their product roadmap. And I had the opportunity to provide my input. Say, guys, it makes sense to do this and to do that. It is a very good feeling that based on my input, they're going to make change to the product and make other customers happier.
Yeah, that's a good advice. Actually, that's what we also do at Datamin in terms of speed and support. So it's kind of an unpaid advertisement of Datamin. So we are also very fast in implementing customers' feedback. It's like when they ask us about, will you have this integration in the future? For example, we had a couple of cases when we told them, yeah, sure, it's going to be there pretty soon, roughly in a week or two. They were like, wow, really? We expected like at least 3 months. But yeah, if it's so fast, that's cool. That's definitely a game changer from the customer experience point of view as well.
That is because you are a speedboat, not an anchor.
Exactly. Was it actually something that you expected from them, and that's also why you went to these early adopters rather than to established software?
Of course, because I definitely expect flexibility in terms of contracts. I will be honest with you. I also believe that if I'm an early adopter, I take some risks, and I also had cases in my life that it's not that every tool that I picked was the right choice. No, I also failed a couple of times, and that is why, of course, in terms of contract negotiation, I expect flexibility and say, okay, guys, I'm not sure. I cannot be sure 100% that first of all that it will fly, that the solution that I'm trying to build using your technology, and B, let's admit we both do not know if your company will exist in 1 year. So that's why I expect flexibility in terms of contract negotiation, in terms of features. And it happened that also I was told, okay, we don't have this feature now, but we'll come back to you in 2 months when it's ready, and maybe then you will start using our technology. And indeed, we started to use that technology. So it is definitely mutual benefit, and also then the startup had me as their ambassador and promoting it further. So you mentioned Fivetran. I personally recommended 2 or 3 startups in Berlin to use Fivetran. Now they use Fivetran. Yeah. Now again, where is my cut?
So you mentioned basically that you had a couple of failures with early adopting of early software, early stage software. So could you please elaborate a bit more? Basically, how did it impact your basically technology stack or your work in general, and what did you learn from that?
Yes. So indeed, I had a couple of failures with new technology. I mean, the biggest damage was damage to my ego, not to the companies where I tried to do it. And so some of these failures, it's my fault just because I did not analyze properly the non-functional requirements, and then I just hit some wall or limit that I did not expect to hit. In some of the cases, let's say the tool was the problem. That again, they promised some level of scalability or performance, and we did not see it actually. But first of all, I learned something from this experience, and definitely made me a better data architect, better developer. It's fine. It's part of the game. So failures are definitely part of startup life. I mean, you cannot just go up and up and up from success to success. So yeah, fine. It happens.
Makes sense. Yes, especially yeah, it's good when it doesn't affect anything like seriously. I mean, like the big tech or customers as data and private
Yes.
data and so on.
And it might be actually surprising, but I saw more failures and severe failures using the more traditional companies with good reputation, because then I saw huge IT budget put to specific technology with good reputation and tens of analysts hired to perform a kind of hardcore requirements analysis and the waterfall and so on. And 3 years later, bam, it doesn't work. It doesn't fly. And imagine the impact of that kind of failure, that, like tens of millions of dollars are thrown away. So while if we're talking about trying to adopt a new emerging technology, that definitely the price of failure is significantly lower. So yeah, it's okay to fail sometimes. That's the bottom line.
So far what we discussed was more from the perspective of from a customer perspective. So when you adopt as a customer, when you adopt and start using a new technology, what did you observe? Anything else on top of the good level of support, customer experience, and so on? Is there anything else that you observed that can help us as Datamin, as the early stage company, to use for convincing our potential customers to use us at this early stage?
Yes, maybe I have a recommendation for you. I believe it's no-brainer, but it's obvious that to get your first 20, maybe 30 paying customers is the toughest part. I mean, think about train. It's really hard for there is this contest, like the strongest man on earth, when they have to move a train or to move an airplane or something like that. And usually the first steps for this very strong men who try to pull the train are the hardest one, right? And then they start to gain momentum, and then becomes easy and easy, and eventually they actually running with the airplane.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the hardest part, is to start basically move.
So my advice to you as the young startup might be that, okay, you are pushing now, and not every push will be successful, or pulling, to use my metaphor. But it's fine. It's step by step, and then you see you have your first paying customer and second paying customer. You have your feedback, and basically feedback your pivot. It's all about not losing this momentum, moving forward. Maybe you don't move forward always like straight in the line. As I said, you might pivot, you might take some turn, and so on. And it nothing to do with technology. It's more like psychology and being optimistic, because actually being optimistic, it is the winning strategy. It's being pessimist, actually it has only downside. So it doesn't have any upside. So yeah, that's my recommendation to you. I'm not sure if that answer that you were expected from me, but yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like to.
Thanks a lot. That's a great advice.
I think, like you said, Igor, it was great, because feedbacks do matter when it comes to decide the market fit of a product. And like Artem said, we're also having a lot of demos, and we talk to a lot of customers or prospective clients, where we see that our product is something that would be tuning into any use cases or requirements accordingly. So I think that was an interesting point. Maybe I'm pretty curious to know how do you see the future of technologies, like having adopted and having used a lot of things and giving feedbacks? How do you see the future of data technologies in general?
I'm not sure if it's good or not, but so we talked about the old generation of companies, these giant, these titans like Oracle, who are used today by Deutsche Bank and Siemens mainly, right? And I think actually right now we are witnessing the birth of new giants. And we mentioned, for example, Snowflake. And Snowflake, I know that they are aggressively acquiring various startups in the attempt to build their ecosystem. And I believe that we will see kind of consolidation into this ecosystem. So right now we are in a kind of chaotic state. Like, imagine a big bang. So we saw in the modern data stack a big bang happened, right? And then the galaxy is expanding, and you have these centers of gravity which are forming around specific technologies. And for example, I believe that Snowflake is going to be one of the centers of gravity, and it will also they're already doing it. It will enable a better data ingestion and data observability and data visualization and so on. And probably one day, very soon, Snowflake will also become that kind of giant. And I mean, unfortunately, nothing is eternal under the sun. So, and then there will be a new star will be born.
Thank you very much, Igor, for joining with us today. It was indeed a great episode, and we are looking forward to see how this is going to be turning up as an article. And yes, that's all for this evening. So yeah.
Well, thank you for having me, and good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone. Then have a great evening.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You know what, Artem? If we cut it, I can do this. The second take, I tell one of the giants will be Datamin. Datamin is going to become the new center of gravity.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Why not? Exactly. There will be like AWS,
and there is Datamin.
AWS, Snowflake, Google,
and
Datamin. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.